Has Georgia solidified its spot as the best program in the Southeastern Conference and therefore the best program in the country?
Right now, today, yes.
I gotta see how this season finishes. That's what I would say.
Well,
if Alabama finishes the regular season 10-2, and then they win their bowl game, they're 11-2, right? And then next year they're back in the national championship picture. I don't know. It's close. It's much closer today than it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago to anybody.
Who's got the better roster?
Georgia.
Better facilities. Push.
I mean,
does that matter anymore?
I mean, it matters to a degree. We talk about who has the better program facilities. You got to take
I'm not saying they're end all be all, but I mean, just factor in. I mean, I'm just going through a 58-point checklist here, Borky. Just want to make sure,
Well, then it's a wash.
I would say push on facilities. I'm fine with that. Better recruiting base.
How many waterfalls does Georgia have?
Georgia.
Again, difficult. Well, Alabama recruits nationally. There's nowhere Alabama can't go and get players. I would say that if you want to play the 5-hour game, Georgia has a much better one. But there's no place Alabama can't go and get players.
That's true. Better head coach today.
Alabama.
All time, I completely agree. I'm sure about today.
Today, still. Alabama.
Better assistant coaches.
That might be Georgia. I mean, I like Monken better than O'Brien. I don't know who Georgia's defensive coordinator is right this second, but I don't like Golding. So,
no. I don't know what the other criteria. I just kind of thinking.
I mean, it's really a 1A, 1B. They're both really, really good. I would give Alabama the edge right now. But if they continue to slip, Georgia will jump in the top there.
I don't definitively know the answer to this question, but I think anecdotally we know the answer to this question. Better NIL program?
Feels like Georgia.
Feels like Georgia.
Yeah, it feels like Georgia.
Better under the table inducement program? I don't know the answer to that.
Alabama's had that machine cooking for years, pun intended.
Yeah. It's been real good for a long time. All right, so more specifically to this weekend. If we agree that perhaps Georgia has not been perfect, they've been really, really good, but they haven't been perfect, what weaknesses do you identify, Hayden?
Ooh.
Relative weaknesses.
Their best offensive skill player is a tight end. They have good skill players, but they don't have – the only superstar is a tight end.
Brock Bowers from Wine Country.
If you could find a way to neutralize him a little bit, the gap isn't so huge between the receivers and State's DBs that it's a huge thing. I think Forbes could match up with anybody, and then we'll see about Richardson.
Borky, do you see a weakness?
No, not really.
Okay. So what is a relative weakness for Georgia?
There isn't one on the team that I watched Saturday. You can talk about consistency. That might be one, but in terms of, Stetson Bennett's been really, really good, but, he's not a super high-level ability quarterback. He's been very good for what Georgia has asked him to do, and he's doing it really well. Deep ball throwing, especially for him, is pretty darn good, honestly. Just measure it up with anybody. But he's not the most talented guy that State will see this season. I think the only thing that Georgia shows you that is a true weakness is maybe consistency, because if Georgia lined up against Missouri this weekend instead of State, what do you think the final score would be?
Say that again.
If Georgia played Missouri this weekend instead of Mississippi State, you think they would beat them into the ground, right?
Right.
It didn't go down that way when they played, but Georgia's
Right.
is a significantly better team than Missouri. So I think, if anything, it's they have shown a propensity to not execute at a high level every week. Mentioned the Kent State game earlier. Easier to get up for a road game in the SEC than Kent State at 11 a.m., well, noon at home. But in terms of true weakness, that's all I got. They're really good everywhere.
And you can't, like, there's not really anything that you can mark against Stetson Bennett anymore, right?
It's hard to. Size, I guess. I mean, splitting
not-
hairs.
He's not huge, but he's faster than people want to give him credit for. He moves better in the pocket than people want to give it credit for. He can make all the throws. Now, nobody's going to look at Stetson Bennett and go, wow, that guy has got a howitzer for an arm. But if you go back and you watch some of the thread the needle throws that he makes, whether it's to Brock Bowers or to somebody else, hey, good arm. Smart. Kind of gotten to the point where he's seen just about everything you can throw at him. Running game for Georgia? Are we as impressed with this year's version of Georgia on the ground as maybe some years where they've had that just absolute horse in the backfield?
That can be one.
Edwards, their leading rusher, has 486 yards on the ground. Now, as a team, they've got 1,746 yards rushing. But they got three guys that kind of carry it.
This is what I'm talking about, though. Is like,
yeah,
there's no star. They just have good players. You know, there's no Todd Gurley or Garrison Hurst back there. But McIntosh is a good player.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey leads the team with 38 catches. He's got 3 touchdowns. That's another thing. They got 15 touchdown receptions on the year, and it's spread out among 6, 9, 10 players. The most touchdown receptions anybody's got is 3. McConkey's got 2, and Bowers has got 2.
They've got 3 tight ends that would start for every team in the SEC.
Not Mississippi State.
Oh, true.
True or